Welcome to another episode of the question and answer session for the Malaysia stocks. So in this video, I will just go over and answer some of the questions and analyze charts from my Telegram group members to spot the general direction of the stock price and also potential unusual behaviors or any other potential entries. So let's get started now. The first question comes from White Shadow. Okay, here's a question. Hi MJ, market might have many candidates, but I couldn't buy them all. For study purpose, among INARI, FRONTKEN, and UWC, which one do you think has the highest conviction? That's a great question, White Shadow. So let's take a look at the chart right here. So here's a chart of the INARI. So in order to compare those three, I think it does make sense to compare three of them because they are all tech stocks, despite they do different things. So this is INARI, and we can see that is sort of in this type of a structure. So we have an uptrend, breaking out, consolidate, and have another final run up. And here comes the consolidation. So I just speculate that this is a potential accumulation range. So we can probably compare it from the structural structure perspective. So let's just remember this structure temporarily. So INARI is sort of have a run up and then forming a trading range. That trading range is from about March to current. Okay, so let's have a look at FRONTKEN. Okay, here is FRONTKEN. So again, I see a very similar structure in FRONTKEN. So we have a run up, and then in March to now is forming a structure. Despite that there is having some form of the weakness, I think in terms of the rally up is sort of a bit better than INARI, but I would say their structure is very similar. So in terms of structure, I don't think there is any benefit in any one of them. So UWC, let's take a look. Okay, again, I think in terms of the outperformance, previously UWC had a very impressive run up. So certainly this is a leadership stock. But look at this reaction. So also from March to current, I see that the reaction is probably a lot deeper than the other two. And subsequently, you can see that instead of forming this type of the big range, it sort of just have a higher low and forming the range right here. But still, probably in terms of the structure, I think UWC is slightly weaker. But there's another thing to consider, which is the volume and also the texture of the price. So if I look at UWC, I do like the general low supply level, and there is quite a lot of the ease of movement up. So what I mean is that look at this sort of the rally, this sort of the rally, it doesn't really require a lot of the effort behind. So that is something that I really like. So if we look at the recent trading range, um, this is the downswing, that's the upswing, and I certainly see that supply is generally low. It doesn't really have this sort of the high supply, the spike of supply together with these bearish results. So this is generally a bullish sign. And right now, I would say the supply is pretty much exhausted. So you can see it has been reflected in the volume session. And I do see a bit of the quality demand, well, not very aggressive, but slightly better pickup. And I think it's on its way up. So if we just look back at FRONTKEN, so let's look at FRONTKEN again. So like I say, it's probably having a stronger structure, but in terms of the supply level, I think it's quite a lot more. So this is something that I will prefer UWC over FRONTKEN. So just by looking at the supply point of view, but certainly I think FRONTKEN is probably in a better structure. So if I look at the INARI, again, probably I think INARI in terms of the supply level is generally very low, and I think I would just prefer UWC, INARI, and then FRONTKEN. So that's my preference, just based on a bit more weightage on the supply level. But in terms of the structure, I think there are not much difference. Those three stocks are bullish in nature, but if you look at the previous price structure or action, UWC generally is a very high beta stocks. So this is something I really like. But do bear in mind that high beta means that when they drop, they also drop a lot as well. So that's the downside. Okay, so hopefully I answer your question, White Shadow. So next question comes from, let's see. Okay, so that's about the stop loss issue. Okay, can answer that. Okay. Okay, so next question comes from SC. How you think about HENGYUAN? It seemed drop from previous high and continue on a downtrend. Okay, let's look at HENGYUAN. So it used to be a very speculative stock. So I'm not sure what happened now. So if you look at the very long-term time frame all the way from 2018, so you can see a very speculative run up in 2017, from about 3 all the way run to about 19, and then suddenly just a collapse. So this is pretty much a TP formation distribution. So ton of the selling distribution, and subsequently it just sort of dies down. So we see that a lot of the supply has come out, and eventually it just kind of dropped to about 6. So 6 is the support. So once it's break down, it's just can't really commit above 6. So 6 is really the support. And let's look at the recent price action. So I see another speculative run up right here, and pretty much I really suspect that this is another type of the distribution where people just selling on the way up. So the previous trend, so this is going down, and there is a non-participation. So this is generally they are inactive, and suddenly there's some pickup of the volume, and eventually it just probably prepare for this speculative run up. So right after this, you can see that there's a lot of the selling on the way up. So sell into the strength, especially when it hit the 6 ringgit. So 6 is a resistance level. Subsequently again here, so there's a lot of the selling as well. So again, it's right at this resistance level, and I think here is all the selling, and subsequently you can see that it's become inactive, and this is probably the final attempt to sell. So you can see the price couldn't really reach all the way to 6 to maybe 6.2. So the level is lower. So pretty much it's just like testing this axis line. This is the previous support, now turn the resistance level. It's the uptrust, temporary commitment above, but failed to commit. You see that there's supply picking up. There's quite a lot of the supply, and eventually it sort of finished the selling and become inactive. So look at the volume, is inactive again. So I just suspect that this is another type of the selling to the strength, selling to the strength, selling to the strength as well, selling to the strength. So I think quite a lot of the people just distribute on the way up, and then eventually it just become inactive. So here we go again, and it will just drift down even without very significant of the selling. So yeah, HENGYUAN is generally bearish, and I don't really see any accumulative sign. In fact, there's quite a lot of the distribution right there. Okay, that's HENGYUAN. Next questions comes from Hanizam. MJ, care to share your view on KAB for your weekly videos? Yeah, sure. Let's look at KAB. Again, I think KAB is a very speculative stock, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yeah, you can see that from the volume pane here. So from the volume perspective, it is a speculative stock. So once it's inactive, it's just sort of hang there or even just quietly and slowly drift down. And then when the volume come in, it just pump the price up, and eventually it sort of dies down and become inactive. You see this sort of the decrease. So it's just a retailer just want to get out and just keep selling. So let's focus on the recent price action. So I definitely see some form of the interest before the pump. So you can see that right at the bottom right here, there is some form of the interest supply, and also the demand just pick up, sort of forming this little range right here. And after that, suddenly we see this pump. So there's aggressive demand come in to pump the price up, and eventually initiate this sort of the breakout. So look at the volume right here. So it's close to 100 million volume. So there's a ton of the volume right there. And after that, there is still some form of the supply. Um, Here is a clue right here. There is a shortening of the arbitrage despite some increasing effort behind. So suggesting there is some presence of the supply right here. So this is a fading of the up momentum, and followed by this change of character bar with quite a lot of the selling. But that's the support area you might want to test. So right after that, even though the supply has decreased, but look at this bar. So this is the failure bar. So the failure right here just push the price down and eventually just break below. So I mean, this sort of the speculative stock is you need to be very careful, because a lot of time it can the volume can just come in, and when the syndicate or when the speculators or the smart money want to pump the price up, and you sort of just buy on the way up and then sell on the way down. So you need to be very quick if you want to trade on these stocks. My preference, if I really want to trade, is go down to the hourly time frame and to look at the stocks and monitor the stocks while the market is open. So for example, when this happened, this sort of just telling me that there's a breach. So there's a failure. So first failure, second as a test, still find some rejection, and also quite a lot of the supply. So that should really just get me out. And that is another um, breakdown. So that is probably the final exit if you really are late, and subsequently that's too late. All right, so in terms of the direction, I'm not bullish at all. And probably I think if you look at the daily, there is some form of the demand come in. Maybe you can just go out and test the access line again, but certainly not really great for any type of the entry. All right, so this is KAB. Let's look at another stock. Okay, here's another question from Ben. MJ, I am a rookie with charts. Wondering from my chart above if you can let me know if I've done anything wrong. Also, from the chart above and the blue lines show that the stock is bullish unless it goes below the lower blue line. Okay, please correct me if I'm wrong. Thanks. Okay, sure. let's look at your chart. So this is D and O. I see that you have two blue lines. So as long as above the blue line, you think the stock is bullish. I'm not sure how you draw the blue line or how you derive the blue line. But probably my approach will be, I want to lean on a structure. So if based on your chart, here is a structure, and I think it sort of fit nicely. So you can see that this is a swing high, the first attempt to break but find some resistance. Here's a reaction. Second attempt, the reaction is a bit more shallow, so this is a bullish sign. Eventually we see a breakout with the increasing of the volume. That's generally a good sign, and it's just a sort of coming down right now as a test. So I would say right now the chart is definitely bullish, with a very short-term action coming back and test the axis line where the previous resistance now turn the support level. So yeah, I'll agree with you, it's a bullish sign, but generally I will look at the chart from a slightly longer point of the view. So let me just show you what I will generally look at if I look at a chart. So generally I just zoom out and to give me a view, a holistic view, whether it can be from multiple years, but from here I definitely see no point to look back at 2018 because this is the structure. So buying climax, so that's the technical reaction, and subsequently you can see it's within this up channel. So here is the up channel. I draw up, you can see that the price actually react quite nicely within the up channel. So far I think the structure is based on the up channel. You can still draw another middle line. This is the middle of the channel, so you can see that it's sort of still reacting. So sometimes this simple type of the uptrend, downtrend line, or the horizontal resistance support can work very well. And subsequently, I will just focus on the horizontal line, so like the support and resistance. So that's the resistance. So there's another resistance, just draw some line. And yeah, eventually you can see that just now I already pointed out. So right now, I think this is the support. So here's the support level, and all the way, this is the support level, and including this demand line from the up channel. So if you really want to determine the whether the chart is as an uptrend, you can simply just look at the low. So at the moment, I see this is low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So there's a higher low and higher high throughout. So higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher low. So it's just in an uptrend just by the definition of higher high and higher low. It's very simple. So let's look at more question. I think, yeah, okay, right. So the last question comes from Trader. We'd like to have your views on CGS CIMB report, which probably reports a transaction where it seems we can know whether proprietary funds or institutions are buying into a stock. The way we can know whether smart money moving in or out. Appreciate your views if you know whether this or other report can indicate this. Okay, thanks, Trader. I think there's something that I would like to clarify here. So whenever we see that there is participation from proprietary funds or institutions, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a smart money. It's just a slightly a lot of money. So usually that when we refer to smart money, that we know usually their direction is always right. But if you just purely based on the prop fund or the institutions are buying into a stock, it doesn't really indicate that they are smart money. So the best way is probably to look at the volume. So for example, if you see that there's quite a lot of the selling on the way down, for example, this sort of the volume, so it just can't be simply from a retail perspective. So retailer generally do not generate this kind of the volume. So it definitely contain some other institution as well, because sometimes the institution might play a weak hand, sometimes they might play a strong hand. So it doesn't really, they don't necessarily be a winner all the time. So this is the one thing that I need to probably point out. And sometimes you can see that there is a spike of this reversal bar, so a lot of the momentum come in. So previous bar, I'm sure that there is some form of the institution capitulate together with some retail as well, late retail or the late capitulation from the institution. But eventually you see that they probably sell right at the bottom, and subsequently just recover, have another test, and then going up. So if you really want to study this, I think you probably can refer to ARK, so the Katie Wood's ETF. So she is one of the fund manager that I follow closely. Not because I want to track the volume, what they buy or sell every day, but because of their stock selection. But in terms of the reporting, you probably can refer to that because they just sort of disclose every day. And you can see from their reporting, you just go to their website and check out the PDF. You can see what they buy and sell every day. So for example, like recently they are selling some China stocks, but not necessarily they are clearing out all their positions. So in this case, they probably just want to reduce the risk because of the uncertainty. That's why they just reduce no matter what the price is. So they might be the weak hand at this moment because they're probably selling at the lowest price. But to them, it doesn't really matter because they have their SOP, they have their rules to follow. Whenever there's things are unclear or uncertain, they just want to reduce the risk. So probably that's how they operate, because I don't really see they clear out all their China stocks in the US market. So I mean, in general, if you find this sort of the information useful from the CGS CIMB report, I think you can just go to approach the broker and ask them whether you can access the report, whether they can send it to you. And if not their client, then probably you can just join and just become their client and get a CDS account with them, and just ask them whether you can get the report to report this sort of the transaction. So I'm not really into this kind of the transaction, but certainly from the annual report or from the person announcement, you can definitely get some information out, because when some of the major shareholders, when they sell or buy, I think they need to report. Although the reporting or the announcement might come in maybe a week or two later, but certainly you still be able to track this. All right, so hopefully I answer your question. Yeah, I think that's all for the question. So if you'd like to get your questions answered or just to interact with me, feel free to join my Telegram group. The link is below. Thanks for watching. I will see you